what's going to separate at this case, Clayton is what and his legacy is what he does to get us to the Final Four. That's going to kind of stamp his legacy. Not the first team All-American, not the, he's accomplished a lot of accolades, but from one Gator who's kind of led a team to a Final Four and the accomplishments that I've had, that was the one thing that I was looking for to kind of complete his legacy as a Florida Gator, is if he's able to get us past this last little hurdle, like he's a problem.
Another Duly Noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, welcome into another Duly Noted podcast presented as always by Titan MRI and Imaging and coming to you from the Meldon Law Dooley Dome Gator Studios. Appreciate everybody for watching and listening. I was going to have minor surgery, back surgery tomorrow. I decided to postpone it for a while. I just don't want to be dealing. It's complicated, but I don't want to be dealing with it during the Final Four. Jeff's going to be gone next week. I have to do radio every day. So anyway, I put it off, and my doctor, it's an elective surgery, I'll be honest with you. So, but it's supposed to hopefully alleviate eventually the back pain I'm dealing with, but it's good enough right now. So I know I mentioned it. That's the only reason I'm mentioning it now. You really don't care whether my back's hurting or not. What you care about is if I'm going to do a great podcast today, and that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to bring on Dan Cross a little bit later. Of course, Dan Cross, the main member, the guy who was the point guard of Florida's first Final Four team. I thought it'd be great to get him on while Florida's going to its sixth Final Four team, right? Yeah, I'm doing the math in my head. Sixth Final Four team. And then, of course, Coach Spurrier on Monday. We're still working on a guest for the following Thursday, but probably going to shift over a little bit to football with spring games and everything going on. So we'll see what we get. Let's go ahead and get, though, to our Royal Blues starting five, brought to you by Randy Royal over at Royal Blue. We appreciate Randy for being a big part of our podcast and all of our great sponsors. All right, let's start with number one. And that is that by the time we do a Monday podcast, we'll know whether Florida's playing for the national title or not, which is just sometimes it's still hard to believe. Now, it's not that anything they've done or that we thought this was not going to be a good team going into the season. We thought it was going to be a really good team. We didn't think it was going to be a national championship team. I don't think maybe Todd Golden did, but I don't think anybody else did. But they've got a chance to do it. Now, obviously, the biggest hurdle is Auburn Saturday, and 6:09, and just strap it on, see what happens. It is interesting, though, just seeing all the stuff that's coming out of San Antonio. Of course, the team flew out there Wednesday. And, I've noticed Todd Golden's done about 7 or 8 podcasts. And again, I wasn't going to ask him this week. It's just, I know he's really busy, but he's doing a lot of national stuff. And the players, the send-off they got was tremendous as they got on the bus to go to the airport. When they got to San Antonio, there was a mariachi band. It's different. Everything is different from anything you've ever experienced when you finally get to a Final Four. I was able to go to 4 of them. I was very fortunate. I wasn't there in '94. I was actually still the sports editor, hadn't moved over to being a columnist yet. So Mike Bianchi went. But I've been to 4 of them, and it's totally different from everything you've been experiencing. And we'll see but again, it's different for Auburn too. Now, Auburn's, some of those guys, I don't know if any of those guys have played in that Final Four when they played a couple of years ago in there. But anyway, the bottom line is Florida is a slight favorite. And I did see these future odds on it. If Florida plays Houston, Florida will be a slight favorite. If Florida plays Duke, they'll be like a 4.5 point underdog. I'm not going to try to get ahead of myself. I'm just going to enjoy this. And I said this on the radio this week, and I believe this with all my heart. There is no way this team can disappoint me. unless they started punting little babies across the court. You know, I'm not advocating punting babies. That's a Bill Burr line. He used to say, "I'm not going to quit watching the NFL because they've had all these problems." Roger Goodell could punt a baby across the room with his wingtip shoes. That's his joke. I'm stealing it. But my point is, this team cannot let me down. What they've done is tremendous. I'm not saying I'm not into this. I'm not saying that I don't care if they win. Of course I do. It's huge. My daughter's going out there. It's going to be an interesting leaving on Saturday. I keep telling her, you don't know when flights are going to get delayed. Always go a day early, always. But anyway. But no, there is no way this team can let me down. They are experiencing something different, and it starts. I mean, they've been there a couple of days now, but Friday, tomorrow, they have an open practice. Anybody can go. Anybody that wants to go, you can go. Anybody in San Antonio can go. You can fly out there tonight and go. I will say that those open practices are not overly exciting. It's just cool to kind of talk. In fact, usually the head coach will come over. I think I mentioned this earlier, and talk to you while the practice is going on, because it's not their practice. Their practice occurred usually either later or earlier in the day, and that's when they went over what they're trying to do and everything. This is just layup drills and shooting and free throws, and just to give people a look at what. And that it's great. The NCAA, the best thing they do is run this basketball tournament. I got to be honest with you. Now, I'm not saying they do a good job at the women's tournament. They don't. What they did to South Carolina certainly just makes no sense, having to play Sunday in Spokane, then fly right to Tampa for the Final Four, and they start that tomorrow. But anyway, they do this right, and the great thing about it is you have unbelievable access. In fact, most times when I go to the Final Four, when I have gone to the Final Four, I haven't been able to use all the stuff that I gathered. It was like my notebook was so full of stuff. It was amazing, because you can just go in the locker room and talk to anybody. It was incredible. And the first time they allowed us to do that, or the first time I did it, would have been 2000. And I'm like, really? Okay, this is fun. And then you had to go into the locker room after the Gators lost the national championship game. The great thing was Donnell Harvey was breaking things in the bathroom. You could just hear things breaking. He never came out for interviews, but that's fine. That's all I needed to know, is that's how much he cared about winning. And he's a one-year guy, but he cared about winning. All right. Let's move along to number 2 on our Royal Blue starting 5, and that is what's come out literally in the last, I don't know, week, maybe a few days, is these different new mock drafts, and it's good news and bad news. I mean, the good news is Florida has 3 guys that appear to be draftable, and now there's only 2 rounds of the draft, so that's saying something. And that's, of course, Condon Houck, who has now put his name in he didn't put his name in anything, but he has become a big-time player. And Condon, who's, of course, been dealing with that ankle and hasn't played at full strength for a while. Maybe he will be for this game. The point is, we know Clayton's gone, and there are people that have him in the first round. I had a guy yesterday call the radio and wanted to bet me that he would be a lottery pick. And I said, I just don't see that. I mean, it'll be some guys from Serbia, and obviously Cooper Flagg and the kid from Rutgers. And there's guys, I like, if you add up the number of people who have said a guy is a lottery pick, it's literally the full 2 rounds of the draft. Everybody's a lottery pick until they're not. I hope Walter is. I really do. I'd like to lose that bet. But I don't think so. I think he's going to go in the first round, though. And I think the likening of him to Steph Curry is a reason to do that. You don't want to miss on another guy like that who can make logo threes and makes big shots. I mean, I've seen guys like that in college, though, that didn't go to the NBA or went to the NBA and didn't do much. So you never know. You never know. But The more alarming thing would be if both Tommy and Alex went. But if they're going in the second round, I think they'll stay because second rounds aren't guaranteed money, and it's not, you can make a pretty good living going to college. So hopefully they stay. But I said this on the radio also yesterday, whatever happens, happens. If you guys are able to parlay this incredible run that you've had into being a first round draft pick, go and have fun, man. We will always remember you, and you're going to be a big part of Gator history. But how big, we'll see. Because you get to the national championship game, it's bigger. You win the national championship, and you're royalty, in my mind. All right, let's get to number 3 on our Royal Blue starting 5, and that was baseball, which finally, well, I don't want to say finally won a midweek game. They finally won a game, but they've been struggling, obviously, as you know. I looked it up. I was curious. Florida right now is 12-9 in weekend games, which is not good. Now, the SEC will fluff down your that's not the right word. Fluff up is the term I was going to use, but then no, it's fluff, but they're fluffing it down. Anyway, your winning percentage. And they're 1-8 in the conference. So they've got to get it turned around against Vandy this weekend. But they did beat North Florida, Brad Wilkerson and Joe Mercandane's team. Joe Mercandane, is cool seeing him. I tell you, he looks just like his mom. I knew his mom in high school. And Wilkie, legendary player. He's in the argument for best player ever. He used to be the best player ever, without a doubt. There was no arguing. Cags came along, Wyatt Langford came along, might have changed that. Even you can still make an argument for Zunino. The thing about Wilkie was just the way he competed, and I love that guy. I love covering the Gators during that time. Anyway, Florida hit 5 homers in the game, and that allowed them to win. The two teams used 18 pitchers in this game, which was ridiculous. But I mean, I get Sully's frustration. You bring in a guy to start an inning and he walks a guy in 5 pitches. He's out. I don't want to see that anymore. I just can't understand the mental concept of not being able to throw strikes. When your coach is telling you, throw strikes, they hit it out, okay. It's all right, man. We can live with that. But don't walk guys, because then the next guy hits it out and it's 2 runs. Anyway, so we'll see what they can do against Vanderbilt this weekend. We'll give you the times and the TV channels that they are on. This weekend has a lot of stuff going on, obviously, with basketball as well. So let's move along to number 4 on our Royal Blue starting 5, and that is as good as baseball did this midweek. Softball did not do well, losing again to, well, I don't want to say again to FSU, but they lost to FSU, but again by shutout in a midweek game, which is weird. You get Keegan Rothrock back. She gives up a 3-run dong in the first and then pitches real well, but you leave people on base. I think they left 8 runners on base in 7 innings. So they lose 3-0. It has been a weird season for this team. It really has. Every time I think they're really figuring things out, and like last night was a good example. They finally had Rothrock starting a game and ready to go. I mean, I know she started one last weekend too, but I mean, at FSU, and she pitched good after the first inning, but they got to get runs, and that's 2 straight games, because remember they lost to UCF and got shut out in the midweek game last week. So there's no reason not to play well on the road in midweek games, but they're struggling with it. Maybe they just can't hit on the road. I don't know. But we'll see what they are able to do this weekend as well. We'll give you those game times and TV as well when we get to the Swamp games of the weekend. And finally, in number 5 on our Royal Blue starting 5, Florida Relays are this weekend. Now, I knew the Florida Relays were coming up because I saw 2 buses pulling in on University Boulevard, and they were right together, so that meant there were a lot of people on them. So, look, the Florida Relays is a really cool event. I'm not saying you should go there instead of watching the Gator basketball game. I'm just saying it's a really cool event, and it was the start of my sports writing career. I went to the Florida Relays, working for the sports information department, and my job was to type all the agate in. So agate is all the results. So I had to type them all in, and then they would mimeograph them off back in the olden days and give them to everybody. But that was where I kind of got started working on a typewriter. I'd never written on a typewriter before. And that led to other stories. And my first story was in the St. Augustine Record. The headline, Doug's Rug is getting a facelift. That was also the lead. They stole my lead. Anyway, so it has a special place in my heart. But of course, Florida getting ready for NCAA track, outdoor track now. So this is a Florida Relays, a huge event over there. And there'll be people everywhere tomorrow, especially tomorrow and Saturday. But yeah, so that'll be really cool. Yeah, so today is the 3rd, so it's the 4th and 5th. So it'll be, tomorrow and Saturday. Just to let you know. All right. That's going to do it for our Royal Blue starting five. We'll take a break. When we come back, Dan Cross, the point guard and leading scorer for Florida's first Final Four team, will join us. Can't wait to talk to Dan. We've had him on the show before, but love talking to him. This is another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Hey, let's talk about something that's been a real game changer for many people, including me. BMI TeleMed is one of our sponsors. They're the weight loss specialists and can help you tackle that stubborn belly fat. You know, the kind that usually creeps up once you hit your 40s. Bob Parado and Charlie Gonzalez, 2 UF-trained pharmacists, work with their medical director to prescribe and deliver the same meds that helped me lose 50 pounds. Yep, 50 pounds. That belly fat, it's not just about looks. It's unhealthy and makes you feel sluggish. So now's the time to do something about it before spring and summer roll around. If you're anywhere in Florida, BMI TeleMed, simple online telehealth platform makes it easy. Your weight loss meds get delivered right to your door fast. From my experience, you feel full sooner, eat less, but can keep enjoying the foods that you love, just in smaller portions. Plus, it helps with blood sugar and cravings. Do yourself a favor, head to bmitelemed.com to set up a free private consultation. No obligations, no contracts. These Gators know their stuff. You'll look better, feel better, and be healthier. Visit bmitelemed.com today. At Royal Blue, we use such tools as AI, bulk email marketing, trade shows, Google search advertising, and multiple websites. We take a much more proactive approach to getting your boat sold in a timely manner. With our extensive client list and broker-dealer network, we can track down vessels that might be perfect for you and your family, that may not even be listed for sale yet, giving you the right of first refusal. We have spent the last 15 years in boat sales, observing and listening to our clients. In response to our findings, we have constructed a custom yacht brokerage that strives to fit their needs and not ours. Call us today to schedule a consultation to see what Royal Blue can do to solve all of your boating needs. Call Randy at 850-974-1294.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Spite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
We appreciate all of our great sponsors, and we appreciate our next guest, the point guard and leading scorer for the first Florida Final Four team. We thought it'd be great to have him on as Florida gets ready for its 6th Final Four team. And Dan Cross, you guys know him well. Of course, he's involved in Athletes Connection as his foundation, making people smarter, better, and better adjusted to come out of a athletic environment. Is that the best way to put it?
Well, yeah, that's good enough, baby. That's good enough.
How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well, Dooley, and yourself?
I'm doing good. I got to ask you about your family, because I know your daughter's in law school, right, at FIU?
Yes. Very proud father, man. Very, very proud father to have 2 graduates from University of Florida, and they moved on to post-grad. And, my daughter's in law school, as you mentioned, at FIU down in Miami. And, son graduated with his master's degree at UF, and just finished up his academy and working down in Miami at the international airport. So I'm very thankful.
Wow, that's great stuff. And again, when you got a dad like Dan Cross and a mom like he has, I mean, both those kids have, they're going to end up good. And you know that, Dan, because you've been around guys that weren't good people, and that you deal with them sometimes, I'm sure, but so much of it comes from that family environment that starts you out.
It does. I mean, it's just the foundation. And everybody, even most of my friends, unfortunately, weren't privileged to have a mom and a father in the household. But I think the most important thing is, when you have a village of whether it's uncles, aunts, coaches, grandparents to help to supplement, whatever voids are in the home, that's really the goal. So I've just been blessed to have a very loving father and mother, parents that are still together, 50 years later, still alive. And, not a lot of people, our age can say that. So just very thankful that that foundation was given to me that I can hand down to my kids and others.
Absolutely. I did want to talk to you about obviously what's going on right now with Florida in the Final Four, and it's got to bring back some great memories for you. I know
Sure.
it's gotten even bigger and bigger, but even when you guys went, it was such a big. I mean, it had never happened here in Florida.
Correct. And I think that's what's most memorable is there aren't too many people in life, and at least Gators, that can say they did this for the first time. So that's
Right.
kind of what I'm holding on to, is that we were able to bring that experience, that excitement to the University of Florida for the first time. And I think, as we all know, those memories, aren't forgotten. And that's no disrespect to the second, third, fourth, fifth Final Fours, and now the sixth Final Four, but it's something about doing it for the first time that just holds a lot of weight and value and memories to now being able to experience this almost 30 years later, with the same kind of excitement, if not more.
Yeah, I mean, that team obviously got to play in Miami for the regionals, and that was certainly a Gator crowd. I remember that very well.
Yeah.
But when you guys go to Charlotte for the Final Four, did it feel totally different from anything you'd experienced before? Because I know it does for these guys now.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it didn't feel too much different because we didn't get to do too much, Pat. Like, we were in the hotel. It was a regular routine for us for the most part. We didn't get to interact with the fans too much. Unfortunately, there wasn't social media, so we didn't see too much that was going on outside until the 10 o'clock news hit at nighttime. So it's basically what we had heard, what our families were saying, because they had a chance, or our friends, they had a chance to experience all the other activities that were going on that we were really protected from, and not exposed to. So it wasn't too much of a difference, other than we're at the Final Four. Like, there's only 4 teams playing in the entire country. Everybody's eyes is on us. Like, that's a feeling that every kid dreams of.
And again, you're playing Duke in the first game Duke was Duke then, but they hadn't become Duke, but they still had won championships and were a really good team. And you guys played them right down to the wire.
We did. We did. Definitely a winnable game. I think we were up 13 at some point, and yeah, some strange things happened, and yeah.
Yeah, I know. There was a certain charge we don't mention
Yeah,
that was
there we
called.
go.
But we still don't. I guarantee you that would be a block today
For sure.
with the rules, how they've changed the way that it's hard to draw a charge anymore.
It was a block in 1991. So
Oh
or
gosh.
1995. Sorry, 1994. Sorry,
Yeah.
1994. Yeah.
So was that Grant Hill that took that charge?
No, it was actually the other Hill, Antonio.
Oh, Antonio Hill. That's right.
Antonio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, it was a great experience for you guys, and there's great stories from it. But I know you got to be enjoying what you've been seeing with this basketball team. I know how big a fan you still are. Obviously, you
Yeah,
stay a Gator for life, and
sure.
you got to enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely enjoying it. And as we all know, this group is just a little bit different from some of the groups in the past. I went to a couple games early on, and I'm not really one at this point in life to really go to too many games. I've been to enough games in my lifetime, Pat. But when I find a common interest in the way and style of play that attracts players, it attracts fans, it attracts guys like myself that I can say like those guys look familiar. Like
Mhm.
the chemistry that looks familiar, the style of play, the reactions. Like there was a lot of familiarity with this particular group that I said, like, man, this group has to be something special. And a lot of that started with the backcourt, as we all know. And anytime you have a strong backcourt that can kind of get you through some close games, and as we've done, then that's a great sign. And that's what made me start to follow guys closely. As we all know, because of the transfer portal, like I don't even know too many players' names anymore because after 1 year they're gone. But they made me ask, like, who is Clayton? Like, who is Will Richards? Who are these guys? And that made me started to memorize and know names. So it was just a very cool experience to see the progression, and the adversity, just throughout the season.
Yeah, it took me half a year last year to know how to pronounce Handlogden,
There
and
it is.
this year was Clavchar. It took me a while to get to that point. Then he made three threes against Auburn, and you had to be able to pronounce his name. But
So
it's a fun team to watch because of all the points they score. I said this earlier, Dan, and I felt this way about the 94 team too. This
like
team cannot let me down. It can't let me down. No matter whatever they do is going to be great. I hope they win every game. I hope they win the whole national champ. But they can't let me down because of everything they've done to this point.
agreed. And I think a lot of that had to do with this last game. And I
Yeah.
said this to my Final Four guys, like we talk every week, like we're the closest, still the closest group of guys and best friends that there are, 30 years later. I said, what's going to separate at this case, Clayton is what, and his legacy is what he does to get us to the Final Four. That's going to kind of stamp his legacy. Not the first team All American, not the, he's accomplished a lot of accolades, but from one Gator who's kind of led a team to a Final Four and the accomplishments that I've had, that was the one thing that I was looking for to kind of complete his legacy as a Florida Gator is if he's able to get us past this last little hurdle, like he's a problem.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about this a lot on the radio, how he's in the argument for best player ever, Florida. I mean, you could argue Neil Walk. I actually saw Neil Walk play, believe it or not,
Right.
back in the 60s. But you can argue the Mike Millers of the world and the Al Horfords and obviously guys like you and Craig Brown, you can
Yeah.
put in there. But he'd be in that argument. I wanted to ask you about some of those old guys because is Craig working with you now? I thought I saw something where he was working with you or doing something with you.
I appreciate you following me, Pat. Yeah, I have travel teams to kind of keep me busy and to keep me around the game. So Craig is in his gap year from FAMU as a assistant coach there. So he's currently living here in Orlando. So I just asked him to come out, man, and share his experience and knowledge with our travel team players to help develop and expose them to college coaches. So yeah, we're working very closely together, and it's been great to have him back by my side to learn from each other and just have a familiar face around. So yeah, he's doing that just to volunteer his time.
And I saw where the clerk, I think, is a pastor somewhere around Central Florida.
Yeah. He's some an associate pastor, I believe, with another former NBA player and Magic player here. So they have a church out in the Claremont area, I believe, and yeah, he's definitely dedicated and devoted to that mission.
Yeah, and we saw Dimitri at a game this year too. The meat
Nice,
hook.
nice, nice.
Hey, who gave him the meat hook name?
I would like to say that I did. I've been knowing Hook. I've been knowing Hook since 15, 16 years old when Billy Donovan was actually recruiting both of us when he was an assistant coach at Kentucky. So
Ah,
I met Hook at and I call him Hook. I left off with the meat hook. But I met Hook at University of Kentucky at summer camp. Patino was the coach there at the time. And so at that time he was probably 350 dunking, and nobody could stop him with his hook shot. And so I think, I would like to say that I'm the reason for that nickname sticking.
I remember the year that he wanted to play on I think it was one of the Olympic teams or something like that, and Kruger said, "You can, but you got to lose this much weight," and he did, and he really slimmed down. I don't think he was as effective, banging people around, but he still had that meat hook, man. There was,
Unstoppable.
yep,
Unstoppable.
it was. All right, Dan, we play this game called Yes, No Way, or Maybe. 3 questions for you, brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak, who is also the sponsor of our Zoom link. We appreciate them. You go in there and say you listen to Dan Cross on the podcast, and you get free fries with your order at Big Mills Cheesesteak. Street dining done the right way. Number 1,
Make sure they
Dan,
hot.
you were surprised when you found out that Walter Clayton was the first ever first-team All-American in Florida.
No, I wasn't surprised.
There aren't a lot of they've had a lot of guys come up like Horford and those guys, but you couldn't pick one of those guys from
No.
that group.
I don't even think they were even third team.
I think they were third, yeah, and
Okay.
Neil Walk was second.
Yep.
But you know who was on the All American team that year was Kareem, Elvin Hayes, Wes Unseld, and Pete Maravich.
Yeah, that's a nice group. Yeah,
Pretty nice group.
Yeah.
All right, number 2 on Yes, No Way, or Maybe with Dan Cross. You still have some jerseys from the teams you played with.
Yes.
Not Florida, but I'm talking about in Italy and the label ducks and
All of them. I made sure I left the country with at least one jersey. They still may be looking for me, Pat, but I did leave with the jersey.
Well, that's good to know. All right. Finally, number 3 on Yes, No Way, or Maybe. You cringe when Gators miss free throws as a guy who made 84.3% his senior year.
Thank you for that memory. I only cringe. No, I don't cringe. No, I don't cringe. No way. I don't cringe. No.
You just go on to the next play, right?
Yep. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. They'll make up for it. We'll be okay.
Yeah. Well, I do want to get your pick on the other game. I know you're picking Florida, right?
Sure.
Okay. The Houston Duke game. Who do you think is going to win that game?
Duke is playing really well right now. But I'm not for sure. They haven't been tested yet.
Right.
So I believe Houston is going, and Houston has won some so I'm talking this one out, Pat, just for a minute. Houston has won some very close games that they could have lost, but they found a way to win. So if it's a close game, Houston is going to find a way to pull that game out. So I'm going to go with Houston. This is not going to be a blowout game.
No, I agree with you on that. And I don't think Duke's seen anything like that defense.
Nope.
Not in the tournament, certainly not in the ACC.
No, this is grown man defense. Houston is grown man defense at the highest level that you're playing against. The guards are grown men. Everybody's about 24 probably. So this is a different kind of strength. This isn't weight room strength. This is a grown man strength that you can't really push around. So yeah, I'm expecting to see some battles.
I like that grown man's strength. All right, before we let you go, do you have, are you still doing your camps in Orlando and Gainesville? And
Thank
are
you,
you still
Pat.
doing the Carbondale one too?
I had to let go of Carbondale after about 24 years, but still doing our All Fundamentals basketball camp, summer camp in Gainesville. We have 2 sessions out at Queen of Peace. So shout out to Queen of Peace that community for supporting me over the years. So that is in July. More information, just go to allfundamentals.com. Again, allfundamentals.com. We have one camp in June, one camp in July at Queen of Peace. And we're about 20 years in, serving the community of Gainesville. So a lot of fundamental teaching, man, a lot of life skills being taught, a lot of development, and it's a great week.
Well, great stuff from you. I expect nothing less, Dan. Appreciate you so much. We'll be back with more of another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging from the Meldon Law Gator Studios right after this break. Adams Rib Company has been a staple of Gainesville for more than a decade and a staple of the Dooley house ever since Kelsey's teeth came in. The first time I walked into Adams, I told my daughter that the green beans are always a test of a great barbecue restaurant, and they were perfect. You know about the ribs that melt in your mouth, and my favorite, the turkey plate. But be sure to go in on Fridays for Nana's Fish Nuggets. They will melt in your mouth. Adams Rib Co., a Gainesville great.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, two things haven't. Our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured.
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
And our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Okay, we are back with another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging from the Meldon Law Gator Studios here in the Ponderosa. Thanks to Dan for coming on. Great guy. Really does a lot of good work, and not only in his community in Carbondale and Gainesville. He's run a bunch of basketball camps and does a great job. We appreciate him for coming on. All right, we've got to get a lot of things to get to, which I love that we have a lot of things to get to. That means a lot of sponsors are on board, and I appreciate them so much, every one of them. Let's start off with our Adams Rib Co. Gator of the Week. And we do this every week and every weekend. We do 2 of these every week, so that we have a lot of fun doing it. And usually there's somebody, it's not hard to find one, and it wasn't hard this week because Bobby Boser is our Gator of the Week. Of course, in the game Tuesday night, hit a solo homer and then hit a grand salame. So pretty nice day for him. Maybe he's getting going here a little bit. They're getting Hayden Yost going a little bit. Just got to get a lot of guys, Ty Evans maybe can get going. Florida needs to have a good weekend. There's no doubt about it. They need to get at least 2 out of 3 against Vanderbilt. You can't go 1-3. You certainly can't go, or 1-2. You certainly can't go 0-3 against Vanderbilt. You've got to win this series because you're 1-8 in the league. If you're even going to think about competing in this league, right now, your goal is to get to 13 wins. I know Jeff and I were talking about it. He thinks they can get in with 12 SEC wins. But the bottom line is they have 1 right now. That's still a long way to go. But I would think 13 definitely gets them in. It's gotten in most teams that play in this league because the league's so good. And we'll check on it going forward. I'll check the RPIs maybe for next week. I don't like to look at them too early. Although in basketball, I do look at them way too early. Anyway, Bobby Boser, great game, 2 homers game, a 2-homer game, and including a grand slam. He is our Adams Rib Co. Gator of the Week. Let us move along to our Leonardo's and Millhopper quick pick. A lot of you bet on Florida to beat FSU in softball, so you didn't qualify. But there were a couple that picked FSU. But so this is another chance for you to. And look, I'm going to make it difficult and interesting at the same time, and that is who's in the Final Four. I mean, we know who's in the Final Four: Duke, Houston, Florida, Auburn. Okay, who is in the final game Monday? Who will be playing in that game? I'll do it with spreads just to make it even more interesting. Florida's a 2.5-point favorite. That line has not moved at all from the time it came out on Sunday night, I think. Yeah. And then Duke is a 5.5-point favorite. So, look, just pick two teams, but with spreads to win the games. And so if you say Florida and Duke, just write Florida and Duke and send it to Patrick Dooley 54@gmail.com. And we'll qualify some more people. We're closing in on pulling another winner to win $25 at Leonardo's. And we appreciate my man Kyle Cohen over there. I need to stop by and see him. I need to order one of those Duels sandwiches. In fact, I gave Robbie $25 for coming on the radio so much, a gift certificate. And he is fired up. He's ready to go in there and get some pizza. I can tell you that because his son, Robbie Jr., Bubba, really loves pizza. He's a pizza guy. All right. Let us move along from our Leonardo's at Millhopper quick pick and get to our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. And, of course, we appreciate our friends at Hesser and Kipke. You're a place to go for any workers' compensation or family law issues. 352-339-9920 is the number to call, or reach them at www.hklawfl.com and make an appointment. Hesser and Kipke. All right, number one is that, of course, Texas A&M has a new has to get a new coach because Buzz Williams left for Maryland, which we talked about a little bit Monday. Weird. The whole thing is weird. The whole Kevin Willard thing, who craps on the porch as he's leaving the house, thing is weird. The Buzz Williams every 5 years has got 6 years has got to go somewhere different because he either wears out his welcome or he gets worn out with the people that are around him. It's a weird dynamic there. But anyway, Texas A&M has an opening, and they went after Chris Beard, which a lot of people thought they would. But Chris Beard instead got more money and more NIL money promised. And I wonder how many coaches, and I will tell you this is the truth. And again, from Ole Miss is where he got it from. And so he's staying in Ole Miss is my point. So Texas A&M still has an opening. I wonder how many coaches are going to use this, and they're going to go to their people and say, hey, look, what is the distribution going to be for football and basketball during this settlement that's coming up? That's going to be finalized this month, hopefully. But when that money comes in, that we're spending all this money, where is it going to go? And I can tell you, at Florida, it's going to all go to football. And then you count on your boosters to supplement your basketball and your soccer and everything. I wonder if Chris Beard said, hey, I want 10% for our NIL or something like that, and I wonder if other coaches might do that. Now, I know that it's not that way at every school. SEC has told everybody, Greg Sankey told everybody, hey, whatever you guys want to do. Now, I'm not going to restrain. And again, he knows it's a football conference. Basketball is doing incredible things, but it's a football conference. And so many schools will just say it's all going to football. So we'll see what happens. But everything is so complicated with football these days. All right, let's get to number 2 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things, and that is the NFL owners met, and of course, they tabled the tush push. It was a split vote right down the middle, and you have to have 2/3. And I don't know if they're going to get people to come over. Look, I think they're being babies. One team is better at this than anybody else, so we have to outlaw it. there's the issue would be if you're the center, you get the most harm done to you. Everybody's piling up on you. But anyway, but they did make some moves, and one of them was they pushed the touchback back to the 35 to try to encourage teams to return more kicks. I'm still trying to figure that out. I guess it's that they don't want the kickers to kick it through the end zone anymore. They want them to have to kick it in play and get maybe more returns. But what I don't get is they did the new kickoff rule to cut down on returns so guys wouldn't get hurt as much. And now you're trying to encourage more returns. Make up your mind. They changed the overtime rule a little bit. It's complicated, but they really didn't get a lot done for guys who spent that much money to stay in nice hotels. All right, let's get to number 3 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things, and that is the torpedo bats, which have become all the controversy in Major League Baseball. It's kind of like anything else. I thought Colin Cowherd had a great line. It's the new HGH, and it's legal. And it is. I mean, guys are doing incredible things. But apparently, the Braves have no torpedo bats because they can't hit. There are other teams that can't. You still got to hit the ball, okay? If the bat makes it go a little further, whatever. I mean, everybody's swinging for the fences anyway, but you still got to hit the ball. And apparently the Braves don't understand that concept. They're 0-7 right now after Ohtani walked them off Wednesday night. I was kind of fired up for this season when everybody was saying, oh, the Braves are the second best team in baseball behind the Dodgers. Okay, well, if that's what we do, we get to all the way to the NLCS, lose to the Dodgers, fine. I can live with that. Would expect that to happen. They bought it the best team in baseball. I didn't expect 0-7 and then to be 8-0. So we're only 7.5 games out of first place. A week and a half into the season, we're at 7.5. Well, it's a week into the season. We're 7.5 games out of first place. Well done. All right, let us move along and appreciate our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. I want to talk about the Gainesville Quarterback Club. I mentioned this on Monday that Coach Napier, we had to postpone Coach Napier's speech. It will happen. And those of you that have bought memberships, these trial memberships, you're going to get a Napier speech, believe me. They'll get it done. But obviously, he wanted to go to the game Monday. He could have just gone to the O-Dome and watched it on TV because they're going to do that on Monday, like they have done for us. If Florida's in the national, I don't think anybody's going to go to watch Houston Auburn or Duke Auburn. I will tell you, I'm leaning towards picking Houston, and I'll do that maybe at the end of the show, or maybe not. Anyway, so because of that, they can't really schedule 2 days out for something that big, at the Touchdown Terrace. So they just decided to punt it for right now and move it back to a little bit later in the year. So it will happen. And then you get Laura Rutledge, who's an unbelievable speaker. And then you get Billy Donovan, and that should be enough right there. You get the 2 Billies and Laura. So, and we've got such a great lineup scheduled for the rest of the season. We'll give you the deets on that soon because we're waiting on one guy, and then that's going to be a domino effect of getting all these other people that we have already agreed to come on. It's a great speaker schedule. You're going to be excited to be part of it, and it's going to be really cool. Look forward to our first meeting, man. I was kind of fired up for Monday's meeting, but that's fine. We'll do it another time, and it'll be great, believe me. And Coach Napier I can tell you this, because the quarterback club is what happens at the quarterback club stays at the quarterback club. And I usually have to ask permission when I want to say something like that happened at it that was interesting, but not controversial, of course. But Billy is his most candid at that quarterback club meeting. So you want to be there. All right. Billy Napier. Billy Donovan's always candid, as you know. All right, let us move along to our Los Linderos smooth move of the week. And, of course, Los Linderos tequila, go beyond, and it's a great tequila. And, of course, Coach Meyer's involved in the ownership there, and our friend Car Scott doing a great job of Los Linderos. Our smooth move of the week is what Coastal Carolina did for their football games this year. And you guys may have read about this. they are going to allow free concessions. Now, there's 4 items: a hot dog, nachos, a soft drink. I can't remember the 4th one, but pretzel maybe, I think it is, or maybe peanuts. But free, and not a limit on it. If you want to come back right after you pound it all down, you can get more. And it's obviously a pretty smart move. I don't think it can backfire on them. They've given us the deets on it. Got to quit saying deets, by the way. But we know how it's going to work, and it's going to draw more fans, get more goodwill. It's something that I think all schools, I'm not saying all schools need to do this. I don't know that Florida needs to do that because you're losing a lot of revenue. If you talk about 90,000 people in an arena, and almost all of them at some point are going to get a Coke or something. That's how I made my living as a young man, selling hot dogs at the Florida games. But anyway, it is a pretty smart move, and it's certainly a smooth move. And it's our smooth move of the week. Coastal Carolina seats about 21 grand for their home games. So, they want to fill it up, and they want people. And again, it's a lot about goodwill. And I think there's a lot of things that schools could do better for goodwill with their fan base, because you're losing some, like these spring games being canceled. That's not helping your fan base. That is making kids not want to go to. You don't want to take your kid to a glorified, skills day or something like that. And I know that one school, I'm trying to remember which one. Gosh, was it Ohio State or Tech? One of the schools did say, we're going to have a spring game. We changed our mind. We're not going to do a skills competition. But look, kids don't want to go watch a skills competition. They want to watch a game. They want to say, I went to the game. And that's how you build your fan base for the future. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it. All right. Let us move along to our Hugh Cain Allstate Mayhem moment.
The Gator Nation is in good hands with local Allstate agent Hugh Cain. Stop by Alachua Marketplace Plaza in Alachua and get a free quote today.
All right, this is are the Gators loose out in San Antonio? This is a water fight between Isaiah Brown and Micah Hanlock, and it started right here. We just poured water on him while he's doing an interview. These guys are having fun. Hey, look, they're enjoying themselves, and that is what is so cool about that. That was on TikTok, obviously. I pulled it off there. But, I'm glad that they're enjoying themselves. Because, look, this is I don't want to say it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Because maybe Micah Hanlock is back there again next year. You never know. Maybe Isaiah Brown's back there next year. You just never know. He could be the starting guard on this team. So, but it may be a once in a lifetime thing, and they're enjoying it. So, but they're also creating mayhem moments. Brought to you by Hugh Cain Allstate. Appreciate Hugh Cain very much. All right, let us move along to our Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the week, and of course, the great people at Gallo Car Wash. You go there, and it literally. You take your hands off everything. You just sit there in your car, and it runs right through there. You don't even have to do anything. It's automatic. It's really cool. And every time I go there, place is really crowded, so I know people are going there. And probably because of another duly noted podcast. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. All right, our Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the week is Drew Pine. Now, who is Drew Pine? You may not know who he is. But he is one of those guys who is soaking up all of his opportunities. None of them are paying off, but as soon as somebody says, hey, we're going to bring another quarterback in to compete with you, he goes, I'm out. I'm in the portal. This will be, wherever he goes, will be his 4th school in 4 years. Started at Notre Dame. He was at Missouri last year. I didn't even know he was there. And he did play in a couple of games. I think their bowl game too. I think he played really well in their bowl game they won. But I guess that was a bowl game I didn't watch. I know I say I watch all the bowl games, but I don't think I watched that one. Anyway, Drew Pine is our Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the week because he is soaking it up, man, the college experience. He's seen 4 different campuses. It's not a bad idea. It does reveal a little bit about your character, though, when you keep walking away from opportunities because you don't want to compete. It says a little bit about you as a person. All right, let us move along to our BMI TeleMed Smart Move of the Week. Yeah, of course, you know our friends at BMI TeleMed, Achieve and Maintain, and you see their phone number there, 727-383-1677. They do a great job. In fact, I've heard from many people, or at least several people, I'll just put it that way, who because I've had success with it, and I can go back on it now since I'm not having this minor surgery, so that's good. I'm looking forward. In fact, I may do it after we get done here. But they do a great job, and they will stay with you on it, and they just do a tremendous job. Our smart move of the week, again, belongs to the University of Florida Athletic Association because they got it done again. They got a game moved. Florida and Vanderbilt. The Saturday game will be at 1 o'clock, and obviously that allows you to go to the game. It's a smart move to move that game. If you were going to play it, I think it was 6:30. Your crowd would not have been good, and the whole crowd would have been watching their phones the whole time, and they would look up when anybody made any noise. But anyway, it's just a smart move to move that Vanderbilt game on Saturday to 1 o'clock. So that is our BMI TeleMed Smart Move of the Week. All right, let us. This, that, and the other. We still have to get to this, that, and the other. And of course, it is brought to you by our good friends at Darshackow Insurance, by the Ballyhoo Grill, and by Ironwood Golf Course. Let us move along to our this, that, and the other. The this is, I remember I don't remember the date, but I remember the day when I found out that Billy Donovan was among the nominees for the Basketball Hall of Fame. Now, why he's not in the Hall of Fame already makes no sense. I looked into it a few years ago and found out that they had changed the age requirement because there was too many coaches who were having too much success too early. So they wanted to make it so that you had to at least be sticking around a while. Whatever, they changed the age requirement, and that kept Billy from getting in because I was trying to figure out how Billy wasn't in, and there were coaches who had not won 2 national championships that were in. So anyway, that's this. That is, the news broke yesterday that Carmelo Anthony is in. And I'm like, okay, let me read through this story again. Where does it say who else got in? And that is the other. The other is that it's going to be released Saturday. In conjunction with the Final Four. Hopefully, Billy gets in. If he doesn't get in, then you need to not ever go to the Hall of Fame and not even talk about it. But I hope he gets in. He should get in. There's obviously, you've been to 4 Final Fours. You've won 2 national championships, played for 3. We know what Billy Donovan did then. In fact, I still say that Billy Donovan is the best coach to ever coach at Florida because he came in and took over a miserable situation, the most miserable of all, and had amazing success. And just the best guy, too. I love that guy to death. But anyway, so we'll find out Saturday whether Billy Donovan got in the Hall of Fame. I think he'll get in. There are 2 coaches that I think people believe will get in because it's a weird Hall of Fame. It's women, it's referees, it's everything. One is Mark Few and the other is Billy Donovan. They think both of them will get in. But Billy won 2. That's all I know. All right, that is this, that, and the other. We appreciate our friends at Darshackow and at obviously Ballyhoo Grill. I was just in there the other day having lunch. All right, let us get to our Swamp games of the weekend. The Swamp is the place to go to watch games. You know that. My daughter, just adores that place. So it's where she goes to watch the games. And there's a lot for you to watch this weekend. They're doing kind of a bottle service thing for Saturday's games. So you need to get reservations. That's how crazy it is. And the videos from that place when Florida won that game against Texas Tech were just incredible. All right, let's start off with basketball. Of course, it's Saturday at 6:09. The Duke-Houston game is at 8:49. and it's on CBS. I know you've been watching True TV and all these other channels, but it's on regular TV on CBS, obviously. Will I watch any of the preview shows or anything? No. I'm staying away from those. I don't watch pregame anything. I just am not interested. I pretty much have either dissected or heard people dissecting it for weeks, especially with the Final Four. The baseball, Vanderbilt, the first game is Friday night at 6:30. That's on SEC Plus. The second game, of course, we mentioned it, is at 1 o'clock on Saturday. That's also on the Plus. And then the Sunday game is a noon game, and it's on the SEC network. So you definitely can watch that game. Hopefully, Florida will be going to win the series at least. At the best, they're going for a sweep. At the worst, they haven't won a game yet. And I have no idea which one of those things is going to happen. Maybe I should have made that the question, the Leonardo's question. How many games will Florida win this week? Because I don't know. I mean, I hope they're going to solve this problem. And again, you get Liam Peterson now is ready to start. I don't know if he's going to start the opener. Aiden King's done pretty well. We'll see what they're able to do. All right. Softball has Arkansas in town. That game's, and Arkansas is number 12. Remember when Arkansas was like 24 or something in the league, and that they put a lot of money into it, and they've gotten really good. They're number 12 in the country. Florida needs to rebound from that loss. Obviously, SEC Network, it's on the Plus at 6 o'clock on Friday. On Saturday, it's on at 4 o'clock, and it's on ESPNU. So you get to watch that game. That's 251 on my cable. And then 2 o'clock is the final game, and that's on the Plus as well. Lacrosse is playing Saturday, 10 a.m. game against, I forgot who I didn't write it down for some reason. Anyway, San Diego State. I did write it down. I'm not stupid. San Diego State, and that's on ESPN Plus if you want to watch it, or you could go out and watch it at Disney Park, whatever it's called, Disney Stadium. So that's going on. And then we also, Friday night, we got to get ready for some gymnastics, man. Now it's on, again, ESPN Plus, but if you want to watch it, it's Friday, starts at 8. And of course, teams competing to go to the regionals. And then I think they go again tomorrow. And then you go to the finals. You go to Fort Worth for the NCAA championships. Anyway, I don't know. I'm blanking out here. That is just the tip of the iceberg of what's going on. There's all kinds of baseball on. There's all kinds of golf on. Getting ready for the Masters. A lot of stuff going on TV. But those are the highlights. No question about it. And we're excited about this weekend. We're hoping that we can come back on Monday and do a show about Florida playing in the national championship game, and the Gators having a great weekend in baseball and softball and lacrosse and gymnastics, and that makes it better, makes it more fun to talk about. There's no doubt about it. Now, it makes better radio when they lose, because then everybody wants to call and complain. Although we got calls this week of people complaining about Florida's playing, how well they were not playing in their minds. You're in the Final Four. Don't make me say it. All right. That is going to do it for our podcast. Another Dooley Noted podcast brought to you by Titan MRI and Imaging, and coming to you from the Meldon Law Studios, Gator Studios, here at our house. And we appreciate all of our great sponsors, all of our great listeners, and people who watch the podcast. Love you guys. And stay with us, and we'll be back on Monday for a brand new show. Zach is doing a great job. As always, I appreciate him. We'll be back with another show Monday. Till then, I am Pat Dooley. I am deep. I'm way back, and I am out of here.